Hey y'all, welcome in. Next time, bring a friend. So let's get right down to it. You have joined the Questions That Keep Me Up All Night podcast. If you got the invite and checked out the website, you know the spiel. So let's get into it. So we are on our third installment in this series, Do I Have to Buy Black? I am so glad to be back on the pod with our panelists today. It feels like March has been dragging on forever. So, a quick recap. In January, I flew solo. And in February, we had a special guest. Now I'm excited to dive back into our discussion with our panelists. Our quote of the month is from Robert Kiyosaki. Financial freedom is available to those who learn about it and work for it. Now, before I get into the introduction, I just want to say that it is my absolute pleasure to be joined today by an incredible group of Black artists slash entrepreneurs. Their talent, creativity, and innovative spirit are truly awe inspiring. And if the world fully tapped into their collective genius, it would be utterly transformed. I'm honored to share their insights, experiences, and perspectives with you today. So, do I have to buy black? Please go out and check out episode 1 and episode 2. Don't get me wrong, we are ending this series, but we will start a new series on financial literacy very, very soon with my two favorite professors, my two favorite college economic professors. So stay tuned for that. All right, so let's catch up. Do I have to buy black? In January, we explored the meaning of supporting black businesses and discussed some reasons why we might not always want to help our own. We also shared 20 compelling reasons to support black businesses. In February, we had the pleasure of interviewing Carlina Williams, who emphasized the importance of financial literacy in our community and hinted at her plans to make a positive impact. Now, I want to discuss the recent economic boycott that took place in the US. I'll be honest, I was initially unaware of the boycott's purpose and I thought it was related to the DEI initiatives being dismantled across the states. But before I dive into the statistics, I'd love to hear from our panelists. What was your experience with the boycott? Did you even know about it? And what did you understand its purpose to be? I will go ahead and open it up first to just ask, what was your experience with it? Did you know about the boycott? And then we'll circle back around and just ask, what did you expect it to be? And then we're going to dive into some statistics on did it work, did it not work, and what was it really? Because I think none of us were quite sure what that was about.
So, I first heard about it. Somebody sent me a text, and the text was that we need to boycott Target, Amazon. And then I got another text from somebody. I thought, yeah, this is a cool idea. We can buy black. But I got a text that I should listen to Roland Martin, who is an African American newscaster who has his own business. And this text was not too long after probably Joy Reid, who was with MSN, was fired. And I had started watching Roland Martin, and I met the man who actually instituted the boycott. He's a minister, pastor, and it had to do with the Lenten, the season of Lent, starting in February. And the word was that if enough people exerted financial stress on the system, then people would listen. These big financial concerns would listen. And I thought, from a nostalgic standpoint, yeah, boycott. That's exactly how the bus systems got the message that black people have money too, and that we should be protected in economics. So that was my experience with it, and I did. Those days did not buy anything. But yeah, I thought about it. We should not just buy from Target or Amazon. We should buy black. We should sell our products and buy our products as black people.
So before I have the other panelists join in, I thought about that and I just wanted to give a reminder that on the previous podcast, the first one, Do I Have to Buy Black? We talked about there was a boycott previously and it was a boycott and to buy black only, and we were boycotting Target and Amazon and the like. And so my assumption was that this was the same thing. That was actually not accurate. They asked us to record what was going on that day, post it on social media. And so if you like to check it out, I have a couple of shorts that was going on that day. And I attempted not to buy at all. But it did say that if you absolutely had to buy local, I was on E and I had to buy gas. So I bought from a local gas station. Or can we open it up to our next panelists to talk about what was their impression of the boycott and what did they think it was supposed to be?
Yeah, I also got the initial information from the internet. Somebody sent me a text me on, you know, that uh, this thing was coming up as far as boycott. So I went on and sent it to other people. My experience, I was talking to a lot of, I work in the school district, so I was talking to a lot of the young teachers and just some of the other staff member, and it was interesting. Like, they were basically saying, "I'm gonna go ahead on and I'm gonna, do this. I'm gonna go along with this boycott, but I hope I ain't got to go buy no gas, or I hope I ain't got." I was like, "This is the point." I was having to explain to them, how is this gonna be effective? I kept talking to them about community. We have to, and unity. We have to stick together. And this is only one day. Just go get your stuff the day before, so we can make an impact. And it was just interesting hearing the points of views when it came to the boycott. I didn't buy anything that day, but I was looking on the internet. It was very interesting. I saw this clip where I guess people got it confused about not going to Target and stuff, and they decided, well, I guess it was going around that to buy, if you're going to buy black. So people were going into Target buying black things. So of course they're being accommodated because we're supposed to be boycotting places like Target and Amazon. They're going into this company, and they're actually buying the black products, which is that's good on one end, but on the other end, it defeated the purpose. So a lot of people were confused. Some people were confused about what they should do. Some people were like up in the air, like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to do it or not. Depends on like what I need. And then there were people like myself that were really adamant. But it was like we just seemed so divided. So that was my experience.
Well, I knew, I guess, about a couple weeks in advance. My friends on Facebook, a lot of them are activists, and so I got the internet notifications. I got personal notifications. I think that as I started to spread to news, I was surprised to find that the people that I worked with, who were my age or maybe slightly younger, did not know anything about the history of us boycotting, specifically the Montgomery bus boycott. And so when I began to relay the history on how that happened and the opposition and the strategies that were used to try to bust up the boycott, it seemed to change their minds. And they said they weren't going to buy anything. And so I just gave them a strategy. Listen, if you got to get gas, if you got to get something, just get it the day before. And that seemed to enlighten them. I don't know why anybody would need to be told if you're going to boycott, prepare. Just almost kind of like the weather. If you know it's going to snow and everything, what do? You usually go out and you buy before, so you'll be prepared. So that was my take. Like my wife, I was a little cynical because I've seen other boycotts before during the George Floyd. I think there was a boycott and it really wasn't successful. Some years back when I was in the service, I remember Reverend Jesse Jackson calling for a national boycott of Nike. I knew that wasn't going to work. So I just had mixed feelings. And I guess you have statistics, but I've read the statistics and there were, a drop, but it really wasn't substantial.
Yeah, so I'm glad you guys all shared those experiences. I'm not on social media. I also try my best not to watch the news. I don't watch TV. So if I see the news, it's because I walked into work and somebody's playing it. So I actually had no idea. I was starting to edit. Do I have to buy black? I was starting to edit the second episode in the series, and Auntie Juju sent me the text. And then 2 minutes later, I got a text from somebody else. And so I thought it was so ironic that I had mentioned the one during George Floyd's time during the protest. I mentioned that boycott and I mentioned, nothing happened. I don't think anybody really cared. And then all of a sudden this is coming up again. So in my mind, I'm like equating this. And also I think at the top of the picture, it said that this was, put aside your whatever issues you have with Al Sharpton and let's support him. And so I think even that was false in that this was not started by Al Sharpton. So I want to just look at a few things here. Um, when I was going into look at like the results and the statistics and whatever happened, I saw two YouTube videos. One, an older black lady, and one, it was a black young lady, probably around my age. And they were both basically like, sorry, white people, we're not helping you. And I'm like, huh? What this is about? So the one lady, she was just saying, no, you guys over here talking about where were we and how come the black people didn't show up? And I'm like, what do you mean? I thought this was a black people boycott. And she said, no, we're not helping you anymore. No, we're not fighting your battles anymore. And she just started going into it. I'll go ahead and post a link to that video. Then I watched another video, and the young lady was very, very well spoken. And she went back in the history and she just talks about, you didn't want us to show up when this and this happened. You didn't want us to show up when this and this happened. Or you didn't miss us when this happened. You didn't miss us when this happened. And she just goes through a long list of things. And then she says, why do you miss us now when you need our voices to help with your boycott? So then I said, okay, so I knew it was a DEI, or so I thought, boycott. I realized, okay, maybe this isn't what I thought it was. So I looked at the statistics, and then I told you guys about my experience where I had a coworker and I'm at work the day of, and I look back and I look and I see on her phone screen Target. I said, I know you not. And she said, what? I said, I know you not. Are you not part of this boycott? And she, oh well, I just heard about it. Okay. Well, she said, well, I have to buy it. I said, why didn't you buy it yesterday? Can you buy it tomorrow? What's going on? She said, well, oh, I'm not really on social media. I didn't, but you know about it. And she said, well, yeah, I heard about it late. I said, okay, I'm hearing excuses. All right. So then lunchtime rolls around and she asked me if she was going to get some. I said, girl, I'm not buying anything today. She said, oh, I'll get it for you. I said, do you not know what a boycott is? So people didn't really know about it. Even young people on social media, they didn't know about it. And like, Eric had said, even if they did know about it, they don't really know what a boycott is. I mentioned in the previous podcast, if you need to buy something, buy it ahead of time. I said, don't go out and buy it the day before. Because what sense does that make to pad their pockets the day before? Like everybody's going to go out and buy the day before and then don't buy the next day. It doesn't really work like that. Um, I looked up, quick little Google search. The People's Union USA were the people who promoted the boycott. I don't know if it started from them. Okay, it was a form of economic resistance. It saw mixed results, with some retailers experiencing traffic declines. Others remained unaffected. What they did find is that Amazon went up. So people say, "Oh, I'm not going in the stores, but I'm gonna go online and buy." Also, Target, the foot traffic went down just by a small percentage, 9% drop in foot traffic, but a 14% drop in web traffic. Amazon saw a 6% uptick in traffic from the previous 8 weeks. So it went up. They're like, okay, we're going to buy on the store online. Nobody will know. And then some other retailers saw a decline with online traffic while others were unaffected. Overall, the 1 day action's impact was difficult to gauge. Some data suggested that there was a potential impact on in person and e commerce traffic, while others showed sales staying roughly the same. There are again, I like to say that we pride ourselves on edutainment here. Please educate yourself. I'm not going to give everybody the statistics. I went and researched a lot myself and saw what was going on. I encourage you to do that to see what was the point, what was the impact. So I'm going to go in and ask. We heard Akila say that she saw it on Roland Martin's show. Now that we know that there are people out here saying this wasn't really presented by Black people, this was a response, I believe, by liberals in response to DEI. Yes, it was, which includes us. And there are a lot of people saying, hey, where were the Black people showing up? How come Black people were still shopping? How come you guys were not boycotting like we were boycotting? What are people's opinions on that before we get into the do I have to buy Black? We're going to cross over after this boycotting. But I think this is a big deal because we cannot do anything unless we come together. We cannot support Black businesses unless we come together. And if we cannot stop for 1 day and boycott to send a message, what does that say about our desire to help Black people moving forward in entrepreneurship and business?
So now the boycott and tactics for change. I think this could be experimented. We can look at the research. I think tactics for change in different eras look differently. Like the boycott that happened in the South with Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks and the young people and the different organizations that really fit in that era. And let's look at it. It was not an internet era. People were not buying things online. They were in the same places. As a matter of fact, people got on buses to go down south from different areas. They went to the same place. So I don't even think that the boycott that we did and getting the message via the internet was the same thing. Even though it could be way more people because of how many people it reached, I don't think the impact could be the same because as you saw, some people could buy online and still think people were not seeing. Also, when the people boycotted in the 60s, they were in solidarity, they were in churches together, they were in places together. There's some kind of energy that comes when people are together in the same space and in the same fight. And there was an urgency that people saw. Whereas we're really insulated as to the urgency of what we're seeing. And I think the impact is even greater right now. But the insulation that we have, i.e., the convenience that we have with our cell phones and whatever the conveniences that we have that they really didn't have at that time, my perception really changes how we look at the game. Doesn't change the outcome of the game. It doesn't change the effect of the game. It's even, I think, even more dire now. But I'm not quite sure that boycott in the old sense of the boycott is what it is. Because when I heard about the boycott, it was like incidentally. And I have to admit, I didn't even send the message myself. I got the message and I did it myself. It came to me when I was at my job. I said, well, I have time to do the boycott. I have time to abstain. But the boycott is all about really people being in solidarity with one another. And so now we have to ask ourselves, what draws us together? What brings us together? And what is this togetherness? And what are we actually fighting against?
I agree with Keela. They back then they did have solidarity. They had a place that they could come together and discuss in person about the issues. You had people going from different parts of NAACP and different people going around to different churches and letting people know what was going on. And so like I really feel like we are in an age where we can get, it could be a great impact, but we're not unified. We don't have those sit down townhouse meetings, because we had those townhouse meetings in every state and every city where you had a point person to talk about these things and spread the word. Then it could be very impactful, but because we don't have that, had unity, and because the church is not looked upon as it used to be at one time, it was a place, basically a place of refuge, especially for African Americans. Right. Now that we're coming away from that. What do we have? You know, internet, the things on internet have more impact than thus saith the Lord at this point. And so like I feel like we have to get to a place where we pray about this, especially coming together, like becoming unified. Finding out a way to begin to restore that community amongst us. We have been taught innately not to trust each other. That's the reason why we're going to buy from each other. We'll go buy from somebody else. We'll pay outrageous amounts of money for the latest purse, the latest this, the latest that from somebody else. But if one of us puts something on the shelf with just equal value, we'll say, oh, they need to come down, or it's too much. So it's like we've been taught also not to trust each other and to support other people. So when it comes to issues like this, it going to have to do some footwork in order to get that unification to take place. Because I feel like it can be done.
Stop right there where you said we don't trust each other. I want to really sit on that because I think that's very accurate. But we don't trust white people either. We don't trust Asian. We don't trust Hispanic people. But we purchase Mexican food all the time. We go to the Chinese restaurant all the time. We go to these clothing stores all the time that we don't own. And I like that you said that we don't trust each other. We don't. We don't trust each other enough to even go into business with each other. But why is it significant among us? Because we still support other people's businesses. So, does the trust factor have anything to do with it?
I think it's a combination of the trust factor and the fact that after the civil rights movement and the civil rights, well, let me say the civil rights bill was passed, effectively ending segregation. I think that's where the training began, advertising began, things being strategically placed in the black neighborhoods, prompting us to buy. You have to understand the reason why the boycotts and I believe the reason why uh, the civil rights movement was successful to one point because we were segregated. So we were forced to buy black because you couldn't buy anywhere else. The youth movement, which was a two-pronged movement, it wasn't just Martin Luther King and all the elders, but the freedom rides were basically college students. But you have to remember at that time, I couldn't go to Berkeley or I couldn't go to Cal U or anything. I had to go to HBCU. So therefore, you still had that solidarity, and I believe that solidarity spurred that commitment to the cause. But when segregation effectively, I believe, was done away with, then the establishment says, well, there is all of this business that we can do. So let us begin to train black people to become consumers while working clandestinely to destroy their collective thought of supporting one another, whether it be politically, whether it be economically, and even at some point spiritually or religiously. But train them to become consumerism. And advertising is all about that. Listen, this is what you need. Let us implant into the mind of the collective mind of black people. Listen, this is where I need to feel good. I need to have a new pair of Jordans. I need to have a new car. And you see that even propagated in the movies, the black exploitation movies, where you see the pimps and the hustlers, they're driving what? These big Cadillacs. Because they went into history and they remembered that while Cadillac almost went bankrupt, it was because they hired a black salesman and began to advertise in the black community. And it was because of the black collective community supporting Cadillac, Cadillac did not go under. Statistically, we consume to the point of not millions, not billions, but trillions of dollars every year into the US economy. Imagine if we could take just even half of that and put it back into our own communities.
Wow, wow, wow. That's powerful. That's word. So now you bring Little Africa into the picture, Tulsa, Oklahoma, the very successful businesses in this small town, Tulsa, Oklahoma, where black people were segregated. Let's not even call it segregated. Let's just call it Wakanda forever. They had their own space where they were doing business. And what happened to Tulsa, Oklahoma was what happened to many black communities. They were torn apart by violence after accusations that a black man wanted or did something with a white woman. Became a very base understanding of where the black mind was. But I think Eric really laid out the fact that black people, when black people were in segregation or they were in their own places, blackness wasn't an issue. It was peopleness. And all the people they were working at the top of their game. And when integration came, there was dilution. Black people became diluted into the bigger society, and then there was this plan that black people would be consumers, that we would be consumed into American society, and we would be used as money. We would be the capital that would go into the American society.
That's deep. It's sad because I think that the generations after me don't understand that, but also somehow don't really care. I want to go ahead and transition. I said before in the introduction that I have a group of incredible Black artists slash entrepreneurs. I don't know if you all see yourselves that way, but I know that I'm very honored to be surrounded by people who are very, very talented. And I think about this. How many people have people in their phones that they can dial that if you needed to put together a business of some sort, you could just dial about 4 or 5 people in your phone, and all of the people would be able to assist you with whatever you had to do. And that's where I feel like I stand here. We have musicians, we have cartoonists, we have preachers, we have organizers, all here on this panel. We have business owners, cooks, all here on this panel. The sad thing about that is, though, in our lifetime, the probability of any of us becoming a millionaire, and let's just take it more to a realistic point of view, the probability of any of us being able to be gainfully not employed, because it would be a self-employed situation, but the probability of any of us being able to make money, support our families, and have generational wealth off of our talents is very, very low probability. Why is that? Is that because we don't know how to promote? Is that because we don't understand finances? Is that because the economic situation right now in America is such that big business is booming and so small business doesn't really count? Or is it because Black people don't support Black businesses? That's funny that you brought that up. I was just talking to someone about, and I don't know where I heard this. It was someone telling me, and I hope I'm not mixing up two stories. But there's a group of Black people who wanted to buy land. The conversation came up because I've always wanted to buy land. I never quite wanted to own a house, but I wanted to buy land so that I can build whatever I need to build on that. My trepidation with that is I don't want to be out in the middle of nowhere and you call the cops, but the cops is the KKK. Like, I don't want to be out in the middle of nowhere and somebody tries to tell me I shouldn't be where I am. We all know what that means. So the person was telling me that there was a group of Black people that came together. They wouldn't have been able to do it just one person. They came together and put their credit together basically and bought bunch of acres of land. And the idea behind this is that they were going to parcel out the land to other people, Black homeowners who wanted to buy land and have a home, and that they would know who their neighbors are going to be. And I thought that that was very interesting. I don't know if it's a sad thing or a bad thing that it has to be that way, but I think it's okay. I mean, going back to Akila's point where she talked about, segregation or desegregation, however you want to, um, segregation or us being together. I think there are people who say that we were better off when we were together, when we were forced to be together, and we decided we had to help each other out. And I'm not saying, to start segregation over again. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that the mentality of you have a Black doctor in the community, the Black doctor takes care of people. You have Black police in the community, you have Black lawyers, and we all come together and help each other out. And I don't think that that mentality is there anymore. Already, America is an individualist society, Black, white, or other. It's an individualist society. But then when you mix that in with the fact that this society was built on us not having our own. And now you're American, but you're Black American. Don't ever forget that. So it's an individualist society. And then go ahead and try to get your own, knowing that nobody's just going to hand that to you. And even if you fight for it, you might not get it. I want to ask you guys, what has been your experiences buying Black? We talked about in the first podcast how, sometimes people price things too high. It's just a reality of it. They price things too high. The quality is bad. The wait times are bad, the attitudes are horrible, and it's like, okay, yeah, I want to buy black, but every time I attempt to do so, this and this happens. I did talk about how all of us here are creatives. All of us here have things that we could really get paid to do. It's in us. How do we promote that when we also have our reservations about buying black? How do we price our things to where we think people will buy them? And actually, I guess that's the question of like, if we're scared to buy black because of certain things, do you think that people will support us?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think first of all, we have to support ourselves because if we don't support ourselves, we're not going to support anybody else. And as far as competitive pricing, Amazon can afford to sell things for a penny. I mean, they're making so much money hand over fist. Whereas if you're a small business can't be on the same model as big business. They've got to add value another way. Where people, when they mass produce, their value is in mass producing. Their value is in volume, so they can sell in volume. But small businesses, our edge might be uniqueness, a niche market, and that's where we'll be able to make more money. Now, I there's an African restaurant in town, and we bought, I'm a vegetarian, so I sent my daughter to get some vegetarian food. They accidentally gave her a chicken dinner, which costed $30. This was chicken and rice, $30. Like one serving of chicken and rice. That was like, wow, that's a lot of money. So, but it was a mistake. The chicken and rice, I gave the chicken and rice to my friend. I sent my daughter back. I need some vegetarian food, and free of charge, she gave me a bowl of beans. I was like, man, they need to know how to make vegetarian food. I mean, I get the beans. There's another restaurant, though, an African
Not
restaurant.
a bowl of beans.
A bowl of beans, girl, a bowl of beans. You need to know how to cater to vegetarians. But another restaurant, $15, and we had a good plate of food, a variety of food. Now, two African restaurants, which one am I going to go to? I'm still buying black, but now there's good competition right there. Now you look at your competition, you see who you're marketing to, and I'll still buy black, but I'm not going to the $30 chicken and rice for one person. No, because I'm a vegetarian anyway.
So that reminds me, I'm going to ask our other panelists on here who I know is an entrepreneur, has been an entrepreneur at heart for quite a long time. She has sauces that she makes that are amazing. And she, for a long time, has been wanting to develop a truck where she sells chicken with her sauces. And I wanted to ask you, you've been kind of doing it on your own for a long time. You have your labels on your bottles, you make your own sauce, you do all your stuff. You've been out there marketing to people. I've seen pictures of where you've marketed to radio personalities and things like that. Do you feel like you've been supported in your attempt to start your business from the ground up, however you've done it? Do you feel like you've been supported in whatever capacity, but by Black people, even though it hasn't blown you up and made you a millionaire? Do you feel like you've had that support?
Well, the problem is me doing it by myself. Now, just imagine if all my brothers and sisters were helping me make the sauce and bottle the sauce and helping me push, it probably would blow up. But I can only move so many units by myself. Then I get overwhelmed. I have to take breaks. I'm in school. I'm working. So it's hard for me to just focus. No, I don't feel like I have all the support, but I do more than one thing. So if I focus maybe on one for a little while, it might go a little bit better.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess I would also bring up what she said she's doing a number of things. I think we're all doing that. First, so we're all working to make ends meet, right? We didn't have a silver spoon in our mouth. Daddy didn't pass down a house. We didn't have that, which is okay. And I'm not saying that the people who have that are less driven. But when you are, especially us here living in California, when you are trying to make ends meet, so first things first, you have to pay bills. And then you have responsibilities, whether that's your family, children, or whatever else. And then you haven't quite settled down. Like I said, we have musicians, we have artists, we have, authors, we have all of these things. And you're not exactly sure what to settle on. So your everything is taking your attention. I think really it might be that nobody has just jumped. And when I say has just jumped, Steve Harvey talks about how, he wanted to do this for so long. He wanted to have this career and all this stuff. And he's famous for saying, like, sometimes you just have to jump. Not knowing what is going to catch you, not knowing how it's going to happen, how the fall is going to end, you just have to jump. I believe often our fear is that there is nothing there to catch us when we jump. Business people and entrepreneurs, some and some of the most successful end up being broke for a long time. And when I say broke, broke, broke. Couch surfing, nowhere to live, nowhere to lay your head while they're trying to develop their concept, their business, they're trying to get things done. And then when they hit, but they had to jump and lose everything. I'm just curious and I want to be a little, intrusive. Which one of us on this panel is willing to just jump?
I ain't sleeping in no car. Okay? If I gotta do that to jump, it ain't gonna happen.
That's a real question. This brother told me the other day. He's from Trinidad, and he's an artist. He does good art. I'm an artist. I'm a nurse practitioner as well. I'm doing a lot of hours in my work, and there are some things that I it's difficult for me to do because I'm working. And I did hear Miss Y's program with the entrepreneur who told us that a lot of us who do business, I was hearing you talking about the sauce you do, but you don't have any family members or anybody to help you do the sauce. So the entrepreneur that was on that program said, yeah, we can't do it all by ourselves. Is the jump is one thing, but the jump into there's still going to have to be some networking, some help. And so this brother I met, he says, he was inclined to say that I need to jump. Yeah, I wasn't so inclined right now, but I hear him because the many artistic developments and these ideas I have, they're going to take some time, and I don't really have the time because I'm working. So that's a very very good question. It's a very good way to look at it. Who has the audacity to boycott against the system, you know, and grab their own.
We're going to move into a series of questions, and I'm going to specifically ask one of the panelists to answer the question. Before I do that, I just kind of want to give flowers to two people that are on the panel that basically encouraged me to start my podcast, to go and start this website, and just to do it anyway. I know that all of you guys know that I work. I'm a workaholic. I feel like if I'm not working, if I have an off day, I feel like I should be doing something. That's probably an issue I need to go to a counselor about, but it is what it is. I remember, um, I think since I was probably about 15, 16, even before that, I used to clean houses. I used to help my youth directors flip houses. We used to tear up carpet, help them install doors, all that type of stuff. I also had a client that I always used to mow their lawn, clean their house every other weekend. So it was something that was in me. And I thought I liked to do it. When I linked up with my now husband, he did carpet cleaning. He also did car detailing. So we're like, okay, we can make a business of this. Like, we know how to do this. Let's do this. And I started to do it more frequently and decided that I hate it. I cannot stand cleaning other people's dirty houses. I absolutely hate it. But the thing is, I know how to do it. Also, it was very tedious for me because it takes a long time because I'm very, what's the word? Weird. And things that should just be a quick clean is a very deep clean for me. So it took a long time. And I thought that I wasn't getting paid for the hours that I was putting into it. And it got exhausting. And I still had two clients that I would on a regular basis clean. And it was just like, I had to drag myself to get out the bed to go do these cleaning because I just didn't like it. Once I got there, I was like, okay, I'm doing it, but I didn't like it. Fast forward to I was doing another podcast with my mom, and I started to see that. I like this asking people questions and kind of getting their perspective on why they're doing what they're doing. And then I had a conversation with my aunt, and we're working on one of her ventures. And she said, I really pray that God makes room for all of the things that you know how to do. Like, you're so good at all these different things. And it was probably like 2 days later that I was like, "You know what? I'm just gonna do this." Talk about the jump. Now, Did I quit my job? Absolutely not. Will I quit my job? Absolutely not. But I made a website. I went ahead and got partners and I said, hey, we're doing a t-shirt line. I would just did all of this stuff and I just started. And I didn't know how it was going to happen. And I recorded my first podcast. And then I was like, we're going to do another one. And it doesn't really matter about the feedback. What I realize is that I jumped, and this is something that I so enjoy. I so love. And it's not tedious and I could spend hours editing and doing all this stuff. This is something that I love. So I said, you know what? I was trying to do the cleaning business because it's something I know how to do and I thought it would make money. Now I have to reframe my mind to say, what is it that I love to do? Because I was part of an organization that said, let's stop worrying about what you love to do. What's going to make money? And so that's the mentality that I was in. But I decided if I'm going to continue to work and keep my job, then I might as well invest in something that I love to do and see how that's going to produce. So let's move forward. We're going to talk about practical ways to support Black owned businesses and then overcoming barriers to Black owned businesses. And we already talked about this importance of supporting Black owned businesses. So I want to send this question to Eric. Are there any specific industries or sectors where you think it's particularly important for us to support Black business?
Yes, a few come to mind. I think the most important because in this day and age, we get so much of our information from social media slash news site. My sister Akila talked about Roland being self-sufficient, being able to support a black news site on social media, which is totally owned by that person or persons, gives them the courage and the strength to be able to report our agenda without having to compromise, without having to give watered down details, without having to suffer reprisals of being fired because they own their own things. I think that's one of the things that we can do. Also, I think and I dream and I hope that it will happen in the music industry. It's not all about having a label. But what a lot of people don't know is the distribution. And that is even changing now because distribution has moved from moving physical materials such as, and I'm dating myself, albums or CDs or even cassette tape to streaming. So to have a completely black owned streaming like a Spotify or Pandora would provide places for artists to go and be able to stream their music and to have the voice and the independence to really make a voice for themselves, not having to worry about traditionally white owned or other owned businesses that also do the same thing. And hopefully, prayerfully, if that were to come into fruition, we would have better opportunities. Not like I've heard stories of great hip hop artists, having their music streamed and getting like 1 cent per stream. And these streaming things are into the millions. So I think that's two businesses I believe in this day and age. And the third one, medical based.
Hmm.
Medical slash pharmaceutical based, whether it's dealing with direct care is a multi-billion, almost multi-trillion business, and my sister Keela can attest to that. Being able to have a black-owned and support that would also be a great boon for us in terms of knowing us. We know ourselves better than anybody else, so we know how to provide the best care. We know holistically what heals us, our people, and not being afraid or to give the right care because they just don't know about us, or there are inborn racial profiles when blacks go to healthcare. So those would be the three businesses I think we should support.
That's very important. I just wanted to piggyback off of that. I had a professor while I was doing my master's in healthcare administration who came up to me and she said, I believe you should go into biology. She said, I think that we need Black researchers to develop cures for Black people. There's not a lot of researchers that are out there helping Black people, but they know what we need. So that's very important. Sorry, I can't do it. But okay, this next question is going to be for Juliet. How can we balance the desire to support Black businesses with the need for convenience, affordability, and quality? And I want you to come from the perspective that you're an artist, you're trying to push out your work now, and it's been a long time coming in the music sector, as well as visual arts, as well as spoken word. So, how can we balance the desire to support Black businesses with the need for convenience, affordability, and quality?
I don't know. That's a big question right there because I'm still in the process of just, even seeing myself as an entrepreneur. I'm finding myself at one place. I was not one of those people that I would just buy anywhere, but now I'm starting to be more focused on, buying from my people and doing things like that, but still trying to push myself.
You're basically saying you're coming into your own, right?
I want to support myself at the same time. I want to change myself, but then I don't want to, also be that person that I feel like is having people spend too much money. So first is finding value within myself, the value within my work, and then being and having the courage to ask for the support.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why I asked you the question because you're in this space right now where you're trying to figure out how to price your products. Do people find it valuable enough? You don't want to cheat yourself, but you know that you put your work into this, right? And so the question is, how do you balance the desire, like your desire, all of our desire to support Black businesses, right? So we're starting to learn the value of doing that. How do you balance that with the need for convenience, affordability, and quality? Like right now, I may need to just run to the store and get, some water. Well, down the street is the gas station. That's not a Black owned business. So it's convenient for me to do that. And then it's actually probably more affordable for me to go even further down the street to the Dollar Tree. But then if I want quality, I might have to go all the way onto the other side of town.
It's, to me, all I hear is the word sacrifice. It's about sacrifice. How much are you willing to sacrifice to support your brother and sister? That's what it boils down to. And then I heard my little sis, Levon say, the selfish component, getting outside of that, yeah, it is convenient for me to go get this. But then I know that there's another one of my Black brothers and sisters has the same product, and I'm starving them for convenience. But they're trying to make a living. They're trying to spread the wealth, to spread the gift that God has given to them. They're trying to show that and showcase that. And I'm squandering their opportunity by just getting something easier. So yes, to me it's about sacrifice. How much are you willing to sacrifice, when it comes to supporting your brother and sister? And also like for myself, like when it comes to my stuff, it's just how much do I value what I'm putting out there? How much do I believe in myself? And that right there will determine how much I feel comfortable asking someone to support.
Okay, that the sacrifice. I like that you said sacrifice. I want to paint this picture. Okay? And this is not to disrespect anybody. This is not to put anybody on Front Street, but the person I'm talking about doesn't matter. They're a million trillionaire and they gonna sell regardless. So I just want to put this out there. I used to watch the Kardashians when I was, yeah, I used to watch the reality shows. And I remember Kylie was, just regular old little girl. I watched her for several seasons, so I know what her face and her body looked like before she did all of that. The girl got lip injections and probably some very expensive ones because they look pretty good. And with that, she is able to market a lip kit for something that is not even naturally hers and something that none of us actually need. Also, she's got, augmentations on her body, and now she's able to sell stuff that goes with that. She literally has a vending machine in the airport that has her products in it. It's in Walgreens, it's in CVS, it's in Target, everywhere. Now, mind you, until after high school, this girl did not have any lips to speak of. She did not have the body that she's promoting now. So we all know that that was augmentated. We all know that that is fake. It was paid for. But now she is able to market and promote. If you use this, you'll look like me. How absurd are consumers to have watched someone for years? I don't know. I'm not going to say that she was talentless. I don't know what talent was there, but that didn't have any singing abilities, acting abilities, fashion abilities, any of that stuff. And now all of a sudden, because there's some lip plumper and some, body enhancements, that all of a sudden I can sell you this package so you can look like me. Now, I'm just painting this picture. Everybody ate it up. They still do. This girl is a millionaire. Not from her family's wealth, from that alone. Now, she could have fallen flat on her face. People could have been like, I know this girl was no lip Jane. She didn't have anything to speak of. I'm not buying that because I'm not going to be able to look like that unless I get plastic surgery. She didn't care. Some of us may think that that's stupid. She put herself out there, and the girl has vending machines of a lip kit in the airport. There are pictures in the airport of handprints that are worth $10,000. And somebody had to go to somebody and sell that and say, I think this will look good. And they could have fallen flat on their face, but somebody bought it and put it in the airport and said it's art. And they paid tens of thousands of dollars for that thing. What is it worth to us to sacrifice, to fall on our face, to put ourselves out there, and maybe somebody will pick it up? It could be absurd, but it could work. Overcoming barriers. What role do you think technology and social media play in promoting and supporting Black businesses?
Well, they got promotion packages that you could buy that'll reach out to your audience. If you pay to have your stuff promoted. You know what I mean? They have a lot of other things where you can get commercials in the middle of your product, a lot of stuff. But again, you can't do everything on your own. You start mastering it and then you get tired. Because I used to do everything. And when I tell you everything, everything. But I just got burnt out.
Well, like you said, there's automation. So it's like if you it seems like if you grind hard for, a good 2, 3 weeks and you plug and play. And when I say automation, if you make one, you can have the computer automatically send things out for yourself. And so I think that that's one good thing about social media. But then also I feel like we have to choose which social media outlet really works for you. So thank you for answering that question. How can we address the issue of limited access to capital and resources for Black entrepreneurs?
Yeah, that's a big one because I think we need to understand how money works. Something that I got on one of your programs and something that resonates with me because a lot of times we don't understand how money works, so we don't access it. Of course, the way I was taught how to access resources is that you work for it. And if you work for it, sometimes you don't have time to do your art, your fantastic art. Like Juliet has fantastic art. Just incidentally, I would pay bank money. Those things would be in museum and they're worth a lot of money, just to let you know. But there's another thing I got on one of your podcasts, and one way to access resources is to network. I mean, if we can learn how to leverage what we have, the talents that we have with other people, like barter some sort of way, just get people on the team, and that can help to grow our resources. But then there is, how do you deal with banks? I don't know. I really don't know. I've always had this fear of dealing with money. I mean, it's been such that I would take money and I'll save it, but in order to do business, you have to invest it. And so this is a really good question, and I see you're asking me this so you can challenge me. I get it right now. One thing that I see working for me is I've been networking. Like I do radio programs, and so I'm working with a small radio station that services the city that I live in. It services all of the Black churches in this area. So I made a relationship. I'm in relationship with the people at the radio station, and because the program that I bring is unique, a lot of people like it. They like having me there. So I can pretty much, I mean, they've given me good rates. And not only do I get good rates, um, they don't pin me down to a time. Now that I use my studio and I send them my programs, I pretty much can put on there what I want. So now, in conjunction with my church, I was asked to write a grant, and the grant brought $40,000. I worked with a team, and we came up with different programs that we can do in our community to support mental health awareness and different, and it's a broad way to deal with mental health. So we networked, and I've been networking with other people. So this I see growing resources. The way I used to think about money, because I was raised in a capitalistic society, we thought that money is all supposed to belong to us. But what I've learned about money is, or resources, because you brought out the question resources, it's not all cold hard cash. So there's people resources, there's networking resources, and we can get our things done through these relationships and these networking. My neighbor, he was a counselor in my daughter's school, and when we moved here, she introduced me to him. And because our lives and our philosophies of being resonated, I mean, he leveraged resources for me because of the cartooning I did. He is paid for different things. He's gotten people to buy books that I do, and he really believes in it. So I think that the first thing about resourcing is networking and getting with people who are like-minded, who believe in what you do, and that way other resources come out of.
Thank you for that. Networking is very important and understanding finances is very important. So, to go ahead and wrap this up, I do want to talk about a networking event that I did send to some of you guys. Carlina Williams is sponsoring a networking event called Let's Get Social. It's for professionals and entrepreneurs looking for connections. It's going to be an all inclusive evening of professional networking, golf, music, nibbles, and wine. And it's going to be April 4th. Now, I know some of us do not drink, and that is okay. The wind down hour is from 5 to 6, and then the 6:30 to 7 p.m., which I intend to join, is the introduction and talking about networking. And then there's a professional icebreaker from 7 to 8. If you guys want to be a part of that, you can please bring your business cards because you guys are going to be networking with other people. It's going to be in Oakland at prime time, a golf experience, and I will post that on this video. We do need to network. We need to join together. And like Akila was saying, it's not always about finances. What can I do to help you? And then what can you do to help me? How can I give you my skills to help your business flourish? And then how can you do the same? How can you reciprocate? We have someone joining us in the audience who is in real estate. Do you have somebody that needs to buy a house? Don't send them to like Keller and Williams or the average Joe. Send them to someone that you know that is in real estate. You have somebody that can do record music, can write music, all of those things, whatever you need, we have the people, the resources in our phone, and we should be networking with one another. I mean, I'm going to venture to say that we're coming to a point in America where we're going to have to start with the barter system again. And so, why not start now and get used to that? Also, talking about financial literacy, understanding the dollar. I don't understand it very well. Like I said previously, that we're going to be having a podcast series with my two favorite professors, economic professors, and they are going to be talking about the importance of understanding economics and understanding finances. And so I want you guys to tune in. I want you to also do your own research. You know, we can't always find out things from other people. Get in there, figure out what your industry needs from you and how you can produce that. Thank you guys so much for being on the panel today. And I have one correction to make. I was told by a guest that Kylie Jenner is a billionaire. So she's a billionaire from augmented things on her body and people want to be just like her. So I think we all can figure out how to make something work for us. Until next time, don't forget to remember to use your noggin.